Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Fine Gaming Connoisseur, and welcome back to another video of Let's Play Monster Online 2 Beta. Okay, so today I want to just continue with my game guide. So this is episode 3, and in this video I want to talk about etiquette. And also I want to talk about one of the issues that a MO1 player has raised in the comment section of my recent videos. So I will talk about that later, but first I want to just talk about etiquette. Okay, so etiquette is something that you commonly see in MMORPGs, because this is a game where many players are playing in the same game, and so now of course, depending on the game, there will be different kinds of acceptable behavior. So different games will have different policies. However, there are some policies that are sort of universal, like no racial slurs, no attacking another player based on their certain immutable characteristics, and so things like that. Those are universal policies that you'll find in a lot of games in their acceptable behavior policies. However, the etiquette that I'm talking about in this video is more to do with what is considered a social etiquettes, things that will, change the way other players perceive you. And so I'm talking about things like, when you say or do things that are polite or rude. And so today I want to just talk about several things. Now, in a game like Monster Online 2, there are a lot of different forms of etiquette, and a lot of it you will only learn once you start playing. You might come in as a brand new player and you might not know anything, but once you've played the game for some time, you will start to realize that there are certain things that are considered etiquette. And so that's what... Oh, wow. This guy managed to... Alright, so there's a lot of forms of etiquette that you should be aware of. However, there's too many to go through in the space of this video, so I will just talk about a few of the common ones that I think you should pay attention to. So the first one, obviously, I think you should be common sense to a lot of people, is that you do not walk around with your weapon out. So when you press X, which is the default key for readying or unreadying your weapon, when you want to approach a player, do not approach them with your weapon out, because this is a great way to get people to become alarmed at your behavior. So generally in town, if you're not engaged in combat of any sort, it's a good idea to put your weapon away. And I think you will know this very well, because if you played single player RPG games like The Elder Scrolls, Daggerfall, or Oblivion, Skyrim, or even Kingdom Come Deliverance, you'll know that if you approach a NPC with your weapon out, it's considered a hostile behavior. And if you do that, then, it's a player. Okay. So if you walk around with your weapon out, it's considered a hostile behavior, and people will think that you're either new to the game or you're trying to attack them. So the first thing I think you should take note of is not to approach other players with your weapon out. And the second one is do not get involved with other people's duels, and that would include not going near them. It's okay if you want to watch, but watch it from a safe distance. Because if you get in their way and or if you get too close, it might interfere with them, and they may interfere, so they may end up hitting you. And if they hit you, then not only is it going to ruin their duel, but if there are guards nearby, then they will end up getting killed by the guards, and so you do not want that to happen. And so if you interfere with a duel, it's a sure way to get yourself, those players who are dueling, they will, it's very likely that they will, have a very negative view of you afterwards, and so it's a good idea to not get involved, get too close to other people's duels, and it's definitely not a good idea to get too near to a duel and have your weapon out. If you do that, it's going to be even worse. Okay, so let me just put my coins away. I'll just butcher that. Okay, so I'm playing on Haven. I'm playing on Haven because I recently recreated my character, because there was a few things that I wanted to change. Okay, no, this is not the way. I'm trying to look for the butchery table. Okay, so moving on. When you approach a player, one thing that you should never do is walk up behind them. Alright, because this game has thievery. It's not implemented yet, but once it is implemented, you do not want to walk up to a player, walk up behind a player, because that is one sure way to get people to not like you. Because when you walk up to a player behind them, like this, you get too close, they're going to think that you're trying to steal from them, even if you're not stealing from them, but they will have the wrong impression that you are trying to steal something. So always keep a safe distance. I think generally, about this length, about this distance from another player is a good distance to keep. So you do not want to get too close like this. That's because you're within arm's reach, and it'll make them think that you are trying to pickpocket them or pilfer something from their inventory. And another thing as well, you should not follow other players too much, especially if they're leaving town. And just like in real life, if you try and follow other people, you will make them think that you are trying to do something bad. Like, you're trying to follow them out of town so that you can, gank them and take their stuff, or try to spy on them or something like that. So, you do not want to, have other people think that of you. Okay. Okay, so he's obviously training his... Okay, I know this skill. I've seen this skill before back in MMO1. So he's obviously training his magic. And... Alright, so I'm just going to rest a little bit, and I haven't put my resting icon. Okay, so other general, tips to follow is, when you're talking in the chat, do not talk in caps. I think this is a lot of this is common sense. I think if you're on the internet a lot, you want to turn off your caps lock, because if you talk too much in caps, then people are going to think that you're being rude, because you're going to seem as though you're yelling. And so try to be aware of that. Do not talk in caps unless you are actually trying to shout or yell. And also, other things such as not provoking. Do not provoke other players, even in town. I think in some games you have players who just will walk up to you and talk rude and do all kinds of rude things. In this game, it's not advised, because even in town, if you provoke a player enough, there are ways for players to basically take you out. Even with guards standing in full view, so even if the guards take them out, they can still, the player that you just upset can still take you out as well. So just be aware of that. A lot of the things that you took for granted in theme park MMORPGs like WoW or other games such as those, is probably not going to work very well. It's not going to work in this game. It's going to backfire. So do not provoke another player. Do not walk up to them and start calling them names and all kinds of things, because in this game, players do have there are ways for players to take revenge if they don't like what you said or what you did. There are ways for them to respond. Okay, should I go this way? Yeah, I think I should go this way. Okay, so that's just some general tips. Now, there are many others. However, I think it's good for you to learn them as you go along, because I think experience is the best teacher. A lot of the things that I know now was learned while playing the game. It's not something that you can just read up guides. Of course, some guides will help, but I still believe that experience is the best teacher. Okay, so the next thing I'll move on to is the subject of the issues surrounding just having one character slot. So recently a player from MO1, I think his YouTube name was Samuski36 or something, he left a few comments on my videos. He's saying that he doesn't like the fact that the game has only, MMO2 has only one character slot, because if he wants to play a murderer, where he wants to have play a good guy and a bad guy, or he wants to play different play styles, a mage or foot fighter or mounted fighter, whatever, then it's going to be very hard for him to just instantly jump into different builds and different players, different characters. Sorry. And so I did reply to him, and I did say that I understand how he feels, because I'm an MO1 player as well. But I did also explain to him why I think that the one character slot is a good idea. And so from a MO1 player to another MO1 player, I will just take this time to just talk about why I think having one character slot and turning red, that is turning murderer, is, I guess it's not so easy to just jump back in between being blue and red. However, I think that playing a red player is going to be much more involving and much more, I think, more interesting and exciting in a way, I suppose. And it's also at that time when I thought of something about single player RPGs. In RPGs, single player RPGs like The Elder Scrolls, whether it be Daggerfall or Oblivion or Skyrim, or even Kingdom Come Deliverance or Fallout, it's quite interesting that when we play those games, we have no problem just having that one character and being a criminal. I see, sometimes I watch videos and these players they take pride in the fact that they go around killing NPCs everywhere and they become like a criminal in that game world, and they have no problem. I don't see anyone complaining to Bethesda or Warhorse Studios that they've turned criminal and that they have no more than one character slot to play a good guy and a bad guy at the same time. I don't ever see anyone complain about that to the developers. Everyone just seems to accept that, and nobody has any problems with being a bad guy in a single player game where there's only one character slot. However, when it comes to MMORPGs, suddenly that is no longer a thing. Suddenly everyone wants to have multiple character slots. Everyone wants to have 5, 6, 7 character slots. And they want to be able to jump in between different characters. They want to be able to play a red player and commit a whole bunch of crimes and then log out and log their good guy back in. So it's I find that it's kind of a strange disconnect in the way we perceive, in the way we play single player RPGs and MMORPGs. Somehow when it comes to RPGs, the standards no longer, our idea of being a bad guy is suddenly different, and I realized that in a single player RPG, if you think about it, in a single player RPG you can only play that one character. You cannot play a criminal and then log out your criminal character and then log into that same game world with another character. You cannot then just log out your bad guy from that game world, that instance of that game world that you're playing in, and then have your good guy play in that same game world that your bad guy just logged out. If you could log, there's no logging out, of course, but I'm just as an example. Now, of course, you could argue that, well, I can just start a new game, play as a good guy, use a different save game, and that's true. But your bad guy cannot then go into the same instance of that game world that your good guy was in, and vice versa. And nobody has any problems with that. It seems wherever I look, I don't ever hear anyone complaining that they can't log out their bad guy and then log in their good guy after they've committed a whole bunch of crimes in single player RPGs. And yet when it comes to MMORPGs, somehow that no longer applies. Suddenly everyone wants to be able to play as a red, kill a whole bunch of players or whatever, and then log out that red player and then log in their good guy or their crafter or their whatever. So I think that's kind of a little bit bit of a strange disconnect, in my opinion. But at the same time, I'm not discounting what Samuski is saying. I do respect that he has views about the one character system, and that's fine. He's that's I respect him having his opinion. But in this video, I want to just, I guess, go in a little bit deeper about how in this game, playing a red is not necessarily a bad thing. If you decide to play a red, then it's going to be very different than MMO1, where you can just log him out at any time and then just play your other characters. In MMO1, I think if you're going to turn red, it's going to make you think long and hard about being a red. You're going to think, now, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to become a murderer and be seen as such by everyone? When I'm no longer going to be able to enter town normally. So I think it's going to be something that you will have to think carefully about, and I think this game has does have ways for red players to live a different life. And so of course you do have Krenesh and Galkor, which are lawless towns that reds can go into without any guards harassing them. And so I think for me, I think that's living as a red is just going to be a different life. I don't think that's the handicaps are that severe. I do know that not being able to enter town is it can be I suppose frustrating to some people. However, for me it just means that you're going to have to think a little bit differently about how you're going to go about living your life and doing the things that you used to do. So I think, and I do believe that there are ways around this. You can, of course, go into red towns and then just buy whatever it is that you need. Oh, and the game's logged me out, I think. Yeah, I think the game's logged me out. Just waiting for it, yep. Okay. So yeah, the game still does log you out occasionally. Alright, so I don't think I'll be able to log in for some time, so I'm gonna just do the rest of my video. It's not going to be very long, but I will just say that in town, if you want to buy something, I'm pretty sure that in lawless towns there will be the equivalent of those NPCs that you would find in blue towns. So now, of course, if you find that you need to access the bank or whatever it is, then I would suggest that you move all your things out while you're still blue, and move it into the red town that you want to be in. So move all your stuff, transport them all into the red town before you turn red, and then after that you can go criminal and go turn red. So that's just one example of how you can I suppose live the life of a red murderer, and not having to, and I suppose the disadvantages will not be as bad. And for me, I think having a single character slot is a good idea, because it forces players to actually think and actually make strategies as to how they're going to do the things that they normally do when they were blue. And I think it also makes you more aware of your actions. That there are consequences, in being a red. And I think it's a good idea for players to just to know that there are consequences when you kill a blue player, and that's something that will make the game a lot more interesting. And I think that if you play a red long enough, eventually the server, the whole server is going to know that you are a fearsome player, and you might even develop a reputation for yourself. And so who knows, that might be an interesting life to live, so to speak, as a red. So yeah, so I think it's just some food for thought. But yeah, again, like I said, not everyone's going to be happy about having only one character slot where they're not going to be able to log out their red player, their red character, and then log in their blue player. But you know, that's just, I think this game is going to take a different direction, and for me, in my opinion, I think it's going to be, I think it will be good for the game. You know, I think it's going to do a better job of making the game more of an RPG compared to MO1, where, you know, actually in MO1, you know, if you can remember, I've read a lot on the forums. People have been complaining that the multiple character slots was, you know, contributed to the death of the economy, and, you know, it made the game stale, and, you know, not many people interacted with each other because everyone was self-sufficient. I was self-sufficient on 4 characters, you know, and so, you know, people were complaining about having 4 characters, but it's strange that now that SV has, you know, gone the other direction and they've made 1 character, now suddenly everyone, you know, suddenly there are some people who don't like it anymore, and I think it's a case of not being able to please everyone, whichever direction you take. So I think SV just needs to stick to their vision, and, you know, it's, yeah, like I said, you know, it's impossible to please everyone. So I think SV just needs to take, you know, a direction that they want to take and just go with it, and hopefully, you know, after, you know, in future, if people can see that there is a future for red players, for murderers to live, you know, in the world of Nave, and still being able to do things that they normally did, but just in a different way, then perhaps, you know, the people who are not happy about the 1 character slot, who knows, they might change their mind. So you know, I just wanted to, you know, talk about this in this video. So thanks, Samuski, for your thoughts, and, you know, so, and I do appreciate you sharing your thoughts on that. You know, of course, we see things differently, but you know, I do think that's, you know, the 1 character slot is a good idea, and so, you know, hopefully, you know, hopefully in the months to come, when there have been a number of players who have tried out being a red on a single character slot, and, you know, people have had the chance to see how they've been able to live, and continue to grow their character, continue to, you know, do well in what they do, and still being able to prosper and being able to have fun, then I think, you know, it will change the perceptions that people have about the, you know, 1 character system. So, you know, hopefully that will, you know, give people the, you know, that more people will come in, and that you know, being a red will not be a problem for them. You know, it's just a different way to live. It's not necessarily a handicap, in my opinion. It's just a different way to live. And so yeah, thanks for watching this video. I'm not going to make this video too long, but I do thank you all for watching today. Please do remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. So I will bring more videos for this game guide while the game is still in closed beta. There's still no ETA on when the persistent beta is going to launch as of the time of this video. However, I will be keeping a close eye on on MO's Mortal Online 2's Discord, on Twitter, and on the forums. And so thank you very much, everyone, for watching today, and hope that you have a great day. So until next time, this is Fine Gaming Connoisseur. Take care.